Welcome to Horror Review Sunday. This week we will be discussing Lucio Fulci's The House by the Cemetery. I got this for Christmas, 4K, and then I found out the hard way that my PlayStation doesn't play 4K. Should have known that, but I didn't. But luckily, this movie is also on Amazon Prime, and I'm wondering if that's the 4K scan I was watching there. I don't get it. The Blu-rays for Friday the 13th, 1 through 4, according to Shout Factory, those are 4K scans, I thought, right? So what's the difference? Is it because this is 4K Ultra HD that it wouldn't play on my PlayStation 4? I don't know if mine's a PlayStation 4 Pro or not Pro. I don't know the difference. I don't know that kind of stuff. But yeah, for some reason this would not play on my PlayStation. So luckily Amazon Prime saved the day. I could watch it for free there. And what are my thoughts on this movie? Let's get into it. Of course, this is a Fulci film, and now that I'm thinking about it, I think this is my first Fulci review. I didn't review Duckling or all the other ones, Don't Torture Duckling and New York Ripper, some of the ones that I've seen recently. No, I haven't reviewed those. I've talked about them on my monthly rankings of movies I watched, but I don't think I've reviewed any of them. So yeah, this is my first Fulci review. Awesome. Alright, so this came out in 1981, and so did two other Fulci films. It's crazy. He made like 3 films in 1 year. Like Black Cat came out the same year, and The Beyond. So this guy was just pumping them out left and right. Jesus, 3 in 1 fucking year. I wish Ari Aster would do that because he's a fantastic director. And so this movie tells the story about a family moving into a creepy big house in the middle of the woods in Boston somewhere. They're moving there from New York because the dad's a professor or a doctor of some kind, and he's doing research that some other colleague stopped doing research on because he killed himself. So he's taking his spot, and once they get there, things start to go, south. So there's a history behind this house. There's an old doctor guy named Freudstein who used to be there, and he did some crazy science crap, and then we find out more about that at the very, very end. So there's lots of little weird things going on in this movie. It's kind of hard to follow, and that's Italian cinema for you. Like, that's what I've noticed throughout the last year of watching more and more Italian cinema, is that sometimes the stories are very thin, but still somehow just confusing they're so hard to follow. There's lots of characters and things that kind of just go unexplored, and just random things happening for no fucking reason, like the bat scene in this movie. It's like, what was that all about? But I love it because it's just so crazy. So let's stop rambling and get into the positives for this movie. The bat scene, there you go. Like, that's the big standout moment for me in this movie. That and the kills, but that scene alone, it reminded me of something like, Phantasm with like the giant like fly thing or whatever it was that just somehow is so strong and they just can't get it off of them. Like, this bat, like, once it has him in his teeth, like, he just can't get the little thing off of him. It's hilarious. He has to like go upstairs and like stab it a bunch, and when he stabs it once, it's like bleeding out of like 4 different areas. Like, it's just one stab wound, but it's like bleeding like 5 different places, and it's just so over the top silly. I wish there was more of that throughout the film. And the score overall, although not really edited into the film that well, it is very nightmarish at times, and this movie does feel very like trippy at times with some of like the imagery and like the blood coming out of like the tombstone, and the mannequin that the head falls off and it has like real blood and organs inside, stuff like that. Just wish there was more of it, but I like that we got some of that kind of crap. So it just has a nightmarish tone throughout. It just feels off. And the opening kills, or the one, I guess, I like that. I like the opening kills. And I like the kills overall, really. Like, they're very bloody, they're very Fulci. No eye stuff. There's no eye stuff in this movie. So that's different. Usually with Fulci, there's always an eye gouge or something with an eyeball. In this one, I don't remember there being any eye stuff. But yeah, like, they linger on screen. There's just tons of blood pumping, decapitations, stuff like that. No kids dying, though. I can't stand that shit. Like, I can't stand this kid in this movie. He's my negative. And I like the look of this zombie, or whatever the hell it's supposed to be. It's very unique and freaky looking, so I'll give it that. But yeah, so there you go. Outside of that, negatives, the kid, can't stand him. Can't stand the way he looks, and I can't stand the way he sounds. Like, the voice, whoever's ADRing, like, this kid, it doesn't match the way this kid looks. The voice does not match up at all. The voice is off-putting, and the face is freaky looking. This kid looks so damn creepy. He's more creepy looking than the zombie at the end. Just a few tension building sequences within the film. Like, there's a few moments where they're really trying to like ramp up the tension. Like, someone's like, slowly walking towards a victim. But I just feel like these scenes like drag out. Like, they're stretched out, and they kind of like overstay their welcome. I'm just like, it starts to lose steam after a while. I wasn't a fan of the tension in the film. And then there's like this looped crying. I guess that's part of like the lore of this Freudstein guy. Like, he's just this cursed soul that's living in the basement or something, and he's just constantly crying like a goddamn child. It's like an adult, but he sounds like a kid, and they throw this sobbing on loop, and it's aggravating to me. You know how I don't like repetition in film, and this was repetition of just this one sound again and again. Every time the killer was near, you just heard this sobbing, and it's like, please stop. Ugh. And there's just little things that really aren't explored. Like, there's little things that were being set up that I thought were going somewhere, and they just don't amount to shit. Like, I thought there was going to be like this, drama with the wife and the husband, because it looked like there was like a history between the husband and the babysitter, Anne. Like, maybe they fucked there at one point. And even something that the real estate agent said kind of hinted at the fact that maybe he was there at one point before, and he was like, no, I haven't been here before. Like, giving a face like he's lying. But that goes nowhere. And then he says something about pills, and she's like, I don't want to take those pills, they make me hallucinate. But then that really goes nowhere. She never hallucinates shit. Why is she taking pills in the first place? And then they really don't do a whole lot of exploring of the whole Dr. Freudstein. Like, by the end of the movie, I'm not even entirely sure what the hell that guy was, what he was doing, what was his experiment. They drop one line very quickly about he needs to keep killing human victims to regain his body, so like or something about cells or something like that, like he's Frank in Hellraiser. Is that what's going on? And then the ending, unsatisfying and kind of confusing too. I'm like, what? And then they throw a quote on the screen, and you're like, what's that have to do with anything that I just saw? I'm confused. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I couldn't pay attention. I am tired, kind of tired watching the movie, so maybe I just missed some stuff. But at the end of the day, I was underwhelmed, to say the least. But I had a decent time watching the movie. So final thoughts: this is an okay Fulci film, but it is nowhere near the best Fulci film. You do get that Fulci gore, like lots of blood pumping, some creative kills. You get like a Psycho 2 kill, but from the opposite angle. So I guess more pieces. A pieces kill. This is before pieces, so yeah, you get some good kills. You get a little bit of nudity in the opening for like a second. So there's not the kind of nudity that you would get in other Fulci films, like Don't Torture a Duckling. But you get some familiar film actors from other Fulci films, and it's okay. It's not the greatest thing, but it's not the worst thing I've seen. So when it comes to House by the Cemetery, if you're a fan of Italian cinema, because I feel like you have to appreciate movies like this, then definitely consider checking it out, streaming it on Amazon, or rent it at Redbox. Alright, this will be a quick spoiler discussion, because there's not a whole lot that I wrote down. So this movie opens up kind of like a typical slasher movie, where boyfriend's gone, girlfriend's walking around like, Steve, Steve, Steve. Like, she says Steve like 1,000 times. I was already getting annoyed in the first minute of the movie, because she says Steve like 1,000 times, and she barely gives the guy a moment to respond. But he's dead. She's like, Steve, where are you? I'm serious. Cut it out. It's not funny. Like, all that dialogue that you hear in every single slasher movie, it's right here. So I was like, ooh, this is not a good way to start. But then it made up for it when she gets killed, after she sees like her boyfriend with like his scalp missing, like a pair of scissors stabbed in the stomach. That was kind of cool. And then she gets the knife stabbed right through the back of her head, out her mouth. Awesome stuff. So I was like, all right, there we go. Not crazy about the dialogue and the setup of that kill, all the stuff before it, but the payoff pretty cool. Love the gore. Love that stuff. So after that, we meet this creepy ass kid, Bob, and his family. And Bob, who the hell names their kid Bob? All right, Bobby. Like, when he's a kid, he's Bobby. When he's an adult, he can choose if he wants to be called Bob. Then this other chick, who I'm guessing is dead, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe she's the child of a different family that moved into the house. And I guess one by one, after each family goes there and they get murdered, this house kind of like takes one kid under their wing and they're like forced to be with them or something. It's like Sinister, that movie. Is that what's going on here? I mean, I don't know. I guess it's up for debate. I'm guessing this kid's dead or she's a kid from a previous family, but for some reason now she's like is it like telepathy? Like she can speak to this kid who's in a different state. Like they're talking to each other through a painting, and then even like they have supersonic hearing too or something. Like she's talking to the kid like from across the street, and he's in a car and she's outside. Like they're like talking to each other somehow, and they can hear each other. It's weird stuff going on. I don't know. I can't get it. Oh, but I think what I was trying to say was that that little girl, she is looking at a mannequin, and it's like foreshadowing a death later on, and the mannequin's head falls off, and there's like blood gushing out of the neck hole, and it's like awesome, creepy, nightmarish imagery. It's cool stuff. So I like all that shit. And then I love that the real estate agent, when she's leaving the house after she gives them the keys and they're settling in, she's like reversing out of the driveway and runs over a tombstone, and she's just like, ah, damn tombstone, and then just drives off. It was just very weird. It's like she's mad at the tombstone, like it came out of nowhere. It's like it was there all along. I don't know, it was just a very weird scene. She's like, oh, damn tombstone. And yeah, whatever. And then, so the babysitter is the mannequin. We find that out because the editing, they just keep cutting back and forth between Anna or Annie, the babysitter, and the mannequin, like very much telling you, like, this is the mannequin, in case you can't tell. And then, so, but they keep calling her the babysitter, but I think that's just something that was lost in translation. She's the nanny because she's there overnight and she's there every day, even when the parents are home. So she's not babysitting, she's a freaking nanny. And why do they need one? I mean, the mom doesn't even have a job. They don't establish that. So I think she can take care of the kid. All right, anyways. So, yeah, they just have a tomb in their living room, and that's okay. So then we get the bat scene. I already talked about how ridiculous that scene is. It's very silly. And so then the real estate agent lady, she just comes in, lets herself in. She knocks. No one answers. She's like, all right, I'm going to walk on in. I have no idea why she was there. Maybe I missed something. But I don't care because her death is pretty cool. She gets her foot stuck in the tomb, like breaks her ankle. She falls over. And then she gets like this spike stabbed in her stomach. And then again in her chest. And then one more time in her throat. And blood's just constantly pumping out. Lots of blood. Cool kill. So, I don't know what she was looking for in there. But yeah, then we get like the tomb that like the blood's pouring over it, just more like imagery, nightmarish imagery, and we just see like limbs scattered everywhere. It's like a flashback, I guess, or something. I don't know, maybe it's actually down there in the cellar. But there's like a mutilated corpse, like just a torso with like one breast like eaten off. So yeah, cool stuff like that. I just wish there was more of it in here, or just a better story. And so then Anne, she's like slowly being decapitated with like a butcher knife. Like he's like cutting her once there, and like cuts her there, then he's like cutting her there. Like it's just like one at a time. He does it so much that her head just falls off down the stairs towards the kid. Awesome. And then of course the mom comes home. She doesn't believe the son. And then the son decides to go sneak down into the basement at night, like he's Andy in Child's Play 2, unarmed, thinking that maybe he was hallucinating or something. I don't understand it. But he goes down there and he sees glowing eyes and he just doesn't react. And then he sees other glowing eyes, doesn't react, sees a third pair of glowing eyes, and then that's when he loses his shit. Like, oh my god, it's too much. 3, that's my limit. The first pair of glowing eyes would have sent chills down my spine if I was a 7-year-old kid. Like, that made no sense to me. Like, he should have been panicking right away. He shouldn't be down there at all, if we're being honest. It's just ridiculous. So yeah, and then, this movie was teasing me. I thought they were gonna go for it and kill the kid. The ghost or whatever is like pushing his head up against the door. We're getting like a Victor Crowley moment. You know how he died by his dad. The dad is on the other side, taking a hatchet to the door, and it's kind of like City of the Living Dead with the pickaxe, that scene. And the hatchet is going through the door, and it's like barely, missing him one at a time, like on each side of his head. And it's like, oh, maybe this one's gonna get him, but then it just goes through and chops off the zombie's hand instead. It's like, oh, like you're teasing me, man. Like I thought the kid was gonna die. Foolish of me to think that, but I thought Fulci would do it if anybody. Nope, I was wrong. So yeah, that's the biggest downfall in the movie. If this kid would have died, instant, like, point or two up. Like, oh, such a shame. So yeah, then the dad, he just gets his throat ripped right out. And, I mean, right away, like, no problem, throat ripped out, but for some reason, the kid, he keeps getting away. Like, this zombie has his hand on this kid multiple times. And you just think, like, this is the time, this is the moment, he's gonna die. Nope, he keeps somehow escaping. Bullshit. And then May, the creepy girl who could speak with him with their minds earlier, she like comes up and she saves the day, pulls him out of the basement, and then the woman who was on the grave from earlier is still alive somehow, or she's a ghost, and she carries them away. She's like, "Come, children," and then they're just walking down the street away from the house. She's like, "We gotta go because some other people might arrive and live in the house or something." And then a quote goes over the screen like, "Are children monsters or monsters children?" Something like that. I didn't write it down. Like, it was something along those lines. Like, are children monsters, monsters children? And it's like the kid in this movie wasn't the monster of the film. It was just some other Freudstein doctor guy. I don't understand that quote at all. Explain it to me. But yeah, that's the end of the movie. So I don't have a favorite character in this movie, but I do have a least favorite character. Hate the award for worst character in this movie. Can you guess it? The kid. Fuck the kid. Hate his face. Hate his voice. Hate his presence in this film. Clapper Award and Funny Bone Award is the bat scene, because it's ridiculous. And the Mr. Hat Award for Best Kill in this movie is Anne, the babysitter who slowly gets her head decapitated with the butcher knife. And the Mr. Twig Award for lamest kill will be the mom. If she even did die, she just gets dragged down the stairs and knocked unconscious, and we never see her again, so I'm guessing she's dead. And those are my thoughts on House by the Cemetery. What are your thoughts on this Fulci film? Where do you put it in your Fulci ranking? Let me know in the comments below and explain this movie more to me if you want. And yeah, there you go. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, Alpha Petersen.